Today on Ballistic BBQ out of Memphis, Tennessee, we're going to be cooking up Rendezvous style pork baby back ribs. Let's get going. The Rendezvous in Memphis, Tennessee has been around since 1948, and the thing that really sets them apart from the other barbecue joints is the way they're cooking their ribs. Rather than cooking low and slow like everyone else does, they're going hot and fast. Basically, they have these big brick-lined pits that have been around since the 40s. Bottom is covered in red-hot briquettes. Then they have two shelves. The top shelf's probably about 3 feet away from the heat source. Next shelf is probably around 2.5 feet away from the heat source. They're starting the ribs up at the top, bone side down, so meat side up. And then they're transferring them about an hour later down to that hotter side, meat side down. And they are continuously basting with a pickle juice baste and finishing them off rather than barbecue sauce with their dry seasoning. And we're going to kick this off with their dry seasoning. Credit goes to Amazing Ribs for this seasoning blend. Basically, when I was planning out this video, I was looking online at different recipes and everything, and I've been to the Rendezvous before and watching a lot of videos because you got to see behind the scenes and listen to the pitmasters talking about what they're doing. So this rub that I'm making, the seasoning blend, looks pretty good from Amazing Ribs. There are a few things I've changed, and I'll explain that when I get there. 8 tablespoons of American paprika, 4 tablespoons garlic powder, 4 tablespoons mild chili powder. In past videos when I've used chili powder, I've had people, especially from countries other than the United States, asking what kind of chilies are you using. When you hear an American say chili powder, it's actually a seasoning blend, so it has some type of hot chili in it, and then other seasoning, other spices in here. So kind of like a Burberry powder, you know? So anyway, it's just a chili seasoning. 3 tablespoons black pepper, 4 teaspoons whole yellow mustard seed, 1 tablespoon ground celery seed, 1 tablespoon whole celery seed. I couldn't find ground celery seed anywhere in my stores, so I just ground my own in a coffee grinder, coffee mill. 1 tablespoon crushed dry oregano, 1 tablespoon dried thyme. Now here's where things took kind of a weird turn for me as far as this recipe is concerned. It called for 1 tablespoon whole allspice seeds and 1 teaspoon ground allspice. So allspice, it's like a berry actually, I believe, and it's dried. And I use these a lot because I use a lot of pickling spice in sauces and things. I'm going to set this down here so you can see. Well, this is a whole allspice, what they're calling a seed right there. It's big. I mean, big and hard. I don't know if this was a mistake or what, but you can't use this on I mean, it's going to roll off. I wouldn't want to bite into that thing. So what I did was I took a tablespoon of whole allspice and I ground it up. And I didn't grind it completely. I just kind of left it in larger chunks, and then there's the normal ground allspice right there. So that's what I did. I don't even know if this will pass really easily through, a spice shaker, but the whole allspice, I can see using it in the mop, because the mop that we're going to be using is heated. You're keeping it hot while you're using it, so you'll get some benefit from that. But yeah, the whole allspice seeds, it just didn't make any sense. Then 1 tablespoon whole coriander seeds and 1 teaspoon ground coriander. Then last but not least, 1 teaspoon of accents, MSG. It's on Amazing Ribs recipe, and it's also on the label of Rendezvous rub if you buy their rub. So if you have allergies to it, or if you just don't want to have MSG in there, then skip it. All right, now we're going to put on the 1980s mauve lid. It's mauve, it's not pink. And literally from the 1980s. Let me get this on here. Give this a shake without the lid flying off. All right, There we are. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is make the mop, but before we do, I want to talk about the actual cook because I'm going to light the fire now. I'm using the pit barrel cooker for this cook. In a future video, I want to do the El Patron because the El Patron is literally perfect for a cook like this, but I wanted to challenge myself a little bit and use the pit barrel. I'm not going to be hanging the ribs. I'm going to be running it a lot different than I normally would, in that I'm going to be monitoring the temperatures and maybe even making some adjustments. But right now I have a basket of charcoal in here and one charcoal lighter in the center there, the little tumbleweed. I'm going to get that lit. And then instead of hanging the ribs like I normally would, I'll be putting the ribs in the pit on the cooking grate that PBC has. I'll be placing the ribs in the pit as soon as that charcoal is lit, so I won't be allowing the charcoal to completely light that bed of charcoal. And I'm doing that to kind of replicate the way Rendezvous puts the ribs initially on that upper grate. So it'll be cooler once the ribs go on. And then as that heat spreads, it's almost like Rendezvous transferring them to the hotter portions of the pit, that lower grate. So I'm hoping this works. I wanted to do the PBC because I love this cooker, but I thought this is a little bit more than a challenge than usual. There's a little bit more thinking that has to go on doing this particular cook. So yeah, as soon as I see that it's really established in there, we'll put the ribs on. Anyway, let's make the mop. In one of the videos I was watching, the pitmaster mentioned they use pickle juice in their mop. So I'm starting out with 2 cups of dill pickle juice. Then 2 cups of water, 1 cup of ketchup, then a half a cup of that seasoning that we just made. Get this whisked up. There we are. This is probably way more than I need, but I always would rather err on too much than not enough. So this is kind of an experiment for me for when I do the other cook I'm planning. Like I said, I want to do this on the El Patron and just sort of compare the two. Anyway, as soon as this gets lit, we're going to pop on those ribs. Let me show you the ribs really fast. And here they are, 2 racks of loin back ribs, baby back ribs. I salted these about 3 hours ago with coarse kosher salt. On all the Rendezvous videos that are out there, you'll see either the head pitmaster or the owner of the restaurant refer to these as loin back ribs. Loin back ribs and baby back ribs are the same thing. They come from the loin of the pig. These are about 2.5 pounds or so each. This is what they like to buy. They like to get the 2.5 pound racks, and they are not peeled. They do not peel the membrane off the ribs at Rendezvous. So it's getting close. Okay, the pit barrel cooker is at 220 right now. Rendezvous is running their pits at around 400 degrees, but like I said, I want to put them on right now so I get that kind of effect of them being on that upper cooler grate. And then as it progressively gets hotter, like I was saying, it'll be like I'm lowering them at the Rendezvous. So again, bone side down. And the membrane is intact. And as you can see, I am running a pit probe in here. There's no wood in here, just that charcoal. Let me show you how I have the damper set up on the PBC right now. So anybody that owns a pit barrel cooker knows that the rebar play a role in the damper system. Right now I have the rebar removed. And there's where that lower damper is right now. All right, for the first hour of this cook, I want to keep this pit running between 325 and 350, keeping an eye on the temperature. Listening to the chef at the Rendezvous, he's saying that they cook their ribs for 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I'm going to go 1 hour, meat up at the lower temperature at that, like I said, 350 to 325. Then the last 30 minutes, they're going to be meat down, and I'm going to pump it up. We're going to go up to around 400 degrees. So I'll keep you guys posted on the temp. Right now, as you can see, we're about 265. So I'll probably be putting those rebar back in place sooner than later. All right, 15 minutes in, and I want to mop. And remember, this mop is hot. I've had it simmering on my stove top. So my plan is to mop this about every 15 minutes. And right now I'm really happy with how the pit temperature is progressing. At the time I came out here, it was at 307 when I pulled the lid off. So it's climbing nice and slowly, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So again, 15 minutes in, I'll be coming out every 15 and giving it a mop. All right, 30 minutes in. Give it another baste here. Okay, so I'm halfway through that 350 degree range thing now, and I have not needed to add the rebars. I'm able to control my temperature range just with that lower damper alone. Right now it's about halfway closed, and well, before I opened the lid, I was popping at 345 and going up to like 355, and I'm totally cool with that. So yeah, 30 more minutes and then I'll be turning the ribs over so they're meat down, and then we're going to be opening up, and I'm going to try to get close to 400 degrees with the pit barrel. But so far so good. It's running how I wanted it to run. It came up nice and gradual to that target temp, and it's been holding pretty steady within, like I said, plus or minus actually 5 degrees once it kind of got locked in there. So anyway, yeah, it's working out good. And I was a little worried about the baste, you know, that much liquid, maybe kind of extinguishing the charcoals. But there's so much air going into the pit barrel right now, the way it's set up, it's staying hot. See you in a bit. So we are at that 1 hour mark. Ooh, looking nice. So we're gonna flip these, but before I do, give them a nice baste. Nice, look at that. Whew, beautiful. All right, get the lid on. So 10 minutes before I came out here to give them their final baste and flip the ribs, I fully opened that lower damper, again to start bringing the temperature up. And it kind of locked in at around 370 to 375. After flipping those ribs and looking at them, looking at the color they have, I'm happy with that. This isn't a gigantic pit like they have at Rendezvous. It's a small, 35-gallon barrel. And I think, 370 to 380 is going to do a fantastic job on these ribs. If I did want it to bring up the pit to 400 degrees, what I would do is simply open the lid just a little bit to allow more exhaust so it's breathing more. But I'm really happy with what I saw, so I'm not going to mess with that at all. So another 15 minutes, I'm going to come check on them, maybe give them another baste, and hopefully in a total of 30 more minutes, we'll be done with these ribs. All right, 15 minutes since we last saw these ribs. Good. Give them one last mop. Those ribs are feeling pretty bendy, so I'm gonna let them go another 15 minutes and then I'm going to pull them, wrap them and let them rest. All right, let's see how we did. A little dark here, that's the mop, but I don't think it's definitely not burnt. It's going to add a nice flavor. So I'm going to loosely wrap these ribs in foil, let them rest a bit, then we'll bring them out and dress them the way they dress them at Rendezvous, see how we did. All right, and here we are. Looks good. Smells really good. So I'm just going to be trying this one one rack out today. Yeah. Tender. All right, so try to do the Rendezvous way. They don't cut all the way through when they're serving, and they make sure they're leaning towards, you know, just one side of the bone. So you're getting a nice bit of meat with each bone you select. Now we're going to hit it with that mop, and remember, you want this mop to be hot. Then we're going to hit it, and I just put it in an empty rub container, rub bottle here. That seasoning. They go pretty heavy. And here we are. Loin back ribs, the Rendezvous way. Let's give them a try. Actually, old PBC gave him a nice smoke ring. Smells very, you know, herbaceous, you know, spicy. Not like hot spicy, but you know, you can smell like that paprika, allspice. Very tender. Do this other bone here. I want to get it in that mop, that sauce. You can see it's just peeling away from the bone. Very, very, very tender. It's been quite a few years since I was at the Rendezvous. I mean, it was probably 2005, between 2005 and 2010. But this is kind of, you know, what I'm remembering. And I'm remembering, you know, when you look at this, you know, you're thinking salty, you know, really salty, but it's not. I mean, remember, there's no salt in that seasoning. These were salted ahead of time. And I don't know if that's what the Rendezvous is doing. This is, again, what Meathead over there at Amazing Ribs suggested, but it's still, I mean, it tastes very much the same. There's just the right amount of salt from that, you know, that dry brine I did before these went on the pit. God, that's just beautiful. You see the seeds in there. This is one thing I love, this is why I'm so hung up on the pickling spice when I do sauces, is because I love getting those the whole seeds in your mouth that have been, you know, this has been in that mop, and so it's softened up a lot. And then, you know, the coriander seeds and mustard seeds, they're not too hard anyway, so, you know, they're in the dry seasoning, but softened up with, you know, the mop. That is so tender and good. But you know, because they're seeds, you're getting the pop of that flavor. You know, it's not just blended in with all the other flavors. You're eating it, you're getting that blend, and then all of a sudden, pop, pop. You get these little kind of explosions of, you know, mustard, coriander flavor. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscription button, ring the notification bell, thumb it up if you like it. I hope you did. I enjoyed making it. And if you have any suggestions you want to see me do, don't be shy. Leave it down in the comment. Look at that. Smoke ring is so nice. I hope the smoke ring's showing up. It's a really nice cook. Yeah, definitely want to try this on El Patron. I think El Patron is built for these type of cooks. But if you have a PBC, you can do these type of cooks at home as well. See you on the next video. Cheers.